New week, new outfit, and same old question. Do you have a pattern for that? We'll get to this in a moment, but first, let me show you what I'm wearing today. Trousers are 100% suit wool. They're really wide and long, and they have really cool gathered detail at the bottom. This was more by an accident because I made them too long, and then instead of hemming them up, I decided just to insert an elastic and see what happens, and I love the result. Next is this plain ivory 100% cotton t-shirt, and it's very simple, but it has the most beautiful texture which resembles pearl and adds a lot more interest to the otherwise very basic top. And because I wanted to keep the entire top of the outfit really light, I'm continuing with ivory. This is kind of kimono style jacket. Very loose, very comfortable. This is 100% cotton denim. Has very generous pockets, of course. One little styling adjustment, I rolled up the sleeves. I love this overall super relaxed, kind of smart casual fit. This is 100% my style, and I feel really, really good in it. And that, in my opinion, is the goal of every single outfit, to feel good in what you're wearing. Now, back to the question. Do I have a pattern for all of it? And the answer is yes, but probably not in the way you expect. If you're new here, hi, I'm Lisa Bennett, designer, educator, and co-founder of Arkdefo. We teach women how to work with their individual measurements, their unique body shapes, and create clothes that they would truly love to wear. Every single garment you can think of starts from the same place. There is a basic block. But the problem with commercial blocks is that they're based on some idea of some sort of standard perfect body. So there is no wonder that ready-made clothes or ready patterns often don't work on you because they don't have you in them. And instead of trying to figure out how to turn something not designed for you to somewhat fit you, you might as well just use your measurements and create the blocks that work for you from the start. Once you understand this logic, clothes making becomes surprisingly easy. Let me show you how I designed every single garment from this outfit. How to make a simple jacket with a kimono style opening using the basic blocks. I'll be using my blocks with 40 centimeter ease because it creates nice and beautiful and relaxed fit. First, I copy my blocks as they are. Next, I decide on the length of my jacket. And now, what do I do with the side seam? I do love an A-line, so I want it to be slightly opening up at the bottom. Nothing crazy wide, but this really allows the jacket to sit nicely around the hips, kind of flowing away from them. And one more thing here, lift up my hem towards the side seam a bit to hit here the right angle. Same on the other side, on the front. And the last part here on the front, I need to change my neckline because for the kimono opening, it needs to be straight. So I don't need this. From the shoulder down, it's a little bit soft. So it's not as a straight line, it's a little bit goes here on the softer curve. That's the body pattern ready. I can cut it out. So front and back are ready. Next will be the sleeve. I am not using the standard sleeve block when I'm working with oversized garments because I don't like the fit. This cap is way too high. It restricts the movement. Instead, I will turn this sleeve into a sports sleeve. I copy this block as it is first and I cut it out. And I want to draw a funny shape that kind of resembles a fringe, like a curve this way. And somewhere in the middle, more or less, I also draw vertical lines this way. And now I will cut it from the armhole up the way, and then this little bit up. Same on the other side. I want to spread it open this way, a little bit up, and this way as well. Okay, on each side. The easiest way to do that is to glue it. So the main body of the sleeve doesn't change. Only these bits parallel to this original line. I correct my seam on the back, the curve, and on the front. And now I cut this shape out. And the last part is to add a pocket. It will be a very simple rectangular shape patch pocket, and that's it. The very, very last part is to add the trim. When it's all stitched, I will measure this full length. So this is half, right? Multiply by 2 to get the full length and cut a long strip of fabric. That's it. That's my kimono coat pattern ready. How to make a pattern for wide-legged trousers with gathered hemline. As always, we start with our basic trouser blocks. I start with the back and I just first copy the block as it is. On the back, we don't change much. From the hip line down, I made them slightly wider. Just allow the line to drop naturally down. And then I don't touch the inner thigh part, only below the knee line, make them slightly wider. So here is a new outline. That's my new inner seam, nothing changed at the crotch. Darts remain. That's it, it's ready, I can cut it out. Now in the front, things are slightly more interesting because we can add more width at the front by adding the pleat. Here's how I do it. I take my separate piece of paper, fold it, and I can just decide how wide I want my pleat to be. And now I take my pattern and align my center crease with the pleat. And now I copy it. It's my grain direction. I want to add same amount as I added on the back. On the inner seam, this much. And on the outer side, this much. And I go ahead and extend my pattern from the hip down. We don't need this dart, but we could remove a little bit from the side. And now this is the final shape of my front pattern. And I cut it out. And the waistline I cut out, folded. And that's my new front pattern. Nice deep pockets are nice. I want a slightly curved opening. Now I go ahead and copy the waistline. And now I can draw my pocket. So that's the base of my pocket. Now I draw the lining. I cut out my curve. And go ahead and copy it here and cut it off. Here is my pocket pattern ready. The base, the lining, and the trouser. Next, I want to design the fly detail for the zip. I usually just design it straight on the fabric and I make it slightly longer than the zip, something like this. Last part here, the waistband. That's it. That's the entire pattern for my wide-legged trousers. And gathered hemline is done simply by inserting elastic into the folded seam allowances. How to make a pattern for a t-shirt. I'm using my blocks without darts. For this particular t-shirt, I'll be using my blocks with 40 centimeter ease. First, I copy my blocks as they are. And all I want to do here is decide how long I want my top to be. Let's say something like this. That's my length. What shape of the side seam do I want to have? I usually just do this. Front, back. What type of neckline do I want to have? I just keep it high up as it is. Same goes for the back. And the last part here is decide on what we're doing here with the hemline. So if I keep it like this, the t-shirt will be hanging funny on the sides. I just lift it up over here a little bit. So the hem goes a little bit up. But that's really it. I cut it out and my pattern is done. A t-shirt doesn't require this fitted sleeve, so I will change it into a sports sleeve. If I want to make a sleeve for a t-shirt, I want to make it shorter. I can copy just the top of it to the new piece of paper. Decide how long do you want your sleeve to be. Let's say something like this. Leave some extra space for the seam allowance. So I cut it here. And now I want to fold my seam allowance in, and only now I cut out my pattern. When you fold in your hem on the seam, the shape of it changes a little bit. It's going this way. Here is my final t-shirt pattern done. The only thing that I don't cut as a pattern is the trim for the neckline. I just measure the final neckline length after my shoulder seams are stitched, and I make a decision based on the fabric. In the most cases, it's about 20% shorter. It's not a specific number, it's just the feeling that you develop the more t-shirts you make. See how the same blocks can result in completely different garments, and that's the whole fun part of clothes making. And I will never stop repeating this. When you understand how clothes work, designing them becomes really easy. And if you'd like to learn how to design and make your dream wardrobe, you can explore our courses via the link below this video. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and I'll see you next Friday.